Let us be honest with ourselves. When a man turns 40, 50, or even 70, he often falls into one of two traps. The first trap is resignation. We think our peak form is in the past, that the bright colors of passion are fading, and the bed is becoming just a place to sleep. The second trap is overconfidence. We believe that over years of experience, we have already studied every map and route of the female body, and nothing can surprise us. But the truth, which is unpleasant to hear, is different. Most men spend their entire lives simply knocking on a closed door. They use force where sensitivity is needed. They turn on speed where a pause is required. And in the end, they receive only physical release, leaving the woman with a polite smile but a cold heart. The great Swiss psychiatrist who explored the depths of the unconscious said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Today, we will not talk about banal mechanics. You will not hear advice like rub here and press there. We will enter through the back door. We will look at intimacy through the prism of depth psychology, where every touch is a dialogue with her unconscious, with her hidden desires and fears. We will turn your hands from a blunt instrument into a key that opens a safe containing the most precious treasures. This knowledge is not for boys who need it fast and plentiful. This knowledge is for mature men who want quality and depth. For those ready to become not just a partner, but a master. And this path has a final goal. I call it the phenomenon of absolute resonance. This is what happens not during intimacy and not even at the moment of the peak. It is what washes over both of you 5 minutes after the finale. It is a rare state of complete psychic fusion when a woman looks at you not as a husband or a lover, but as the only person in the universe who has truly seen her. Achieving this resonance is the highest level of aerobatics, and we will walk toward it step by step, chapter by chapter. If you miss the beginning, you will not understand the ending, so listen carefully. Every word here carries the weight of gold. But before we move to the first chapter, take one simple action. If you agree that male strength is measured not by roughness, but by the ability to manage the chaos of female energy, like this video. Let the algorithms see that conscious men have gathered here. And if this content hits you straight in the heart, you can support our channel by becoming a sponsor. The join button is below the video. This is the fuel for our work that allows us to create such deep materials. And now that we are tuned to the same wavelength, let us begin the immersion. Chapter 1. Territory of Safety and the Shadow. We begin not with touch. We begin with what happens in a woman's mind long before your hand touches her skin. The Austrian founder of psychoanalysis claimed that ancient animal instincts lie at the basis of our psyche, and one of the strongest instincts is the instinct of self-preservation. The female body is more complex than the male. Her nature is to accept, to let inside. And at the level of the unconscious, any entry into her personal space is perceived as a potential threat. This does not mean she is afraid of you. It means her ancient brain, her inner guardian, is scanning you for danger. If this scanner detects a threat, it sends an alarm signal. Muscles will tighten, natural lubrication will stop, and sensitivity will dull. A woman may not even realize this. She may want intimacy with her mind, but her body will scream no. And the most frequent, most banal reason for this block, which men ignore, is hand hygiene. For a man, unwashed hands are just a trifle. For a woman, at the instinctual level, it is a source of infection, dirt, and danger. You cannot relax her soul if her body is in biological defense mode. Therefore, the first step of the master is the ritual of purification. Look at your nails right now. Seriously, look at your hand. What you see can be either an instrument of pleasure or a weapon of trauma. A long, uneven nail is like a razor blade to the delicate mucous membrane of the female body. Even a microscopic jag that you do not feel with your fingertip will feel like sandpaper inside her. In psychology, there is the concept of the shadow, the hidden dark side of the personality. Well, your unkempt nails are the physical embodiment of your shadow, your rough, inconsiderate part that does not care about the partner's comfort. If you go into intimacy with the claws of a predator, do not be surprised if the prey runs away or plays dead. The process of preparing your hands should become a meditation for you. Cut your nails as short as possible, but that is not enough. Take a file, go over every edge. Run your nail along the inside of your lip or your eyelid. If you feel the slightest discomfort, it means it will be pain for her. Remember, the mucous membrane inside is 10 times more sensitive than your skin. You must polish your tools to the state of a smooth sea stone. This is not a manicure. This is an act of respect. When a woman sees how carefully you prepare, her unconscious receives a powerful signal. He cares about me. He is safe. I can open the gates. The next stage is water. Wash your hands with soap in warm water. Why warm? Here, the physiology of thermoreceptors comes into play. Cold fingers cause an instant spasm of blood vessels and a rejection reaction. Cold is associated with death and alienation. Warmth is life, blood, a flow of energy. Your hands should be warmer than her body. This creates a contrast that is perceived as comfort and protection. Use soap with a neutral scent or none at all. The sharp smell of technical grease, gasoline, or cheap fragrance can instantly kill all libido. Scents are a direct road to the limbic system of the brain, which is responsible for emotions. Do not let an accidental scent destroy the atmosphere you have been creating for so long. And one more detail that 9 out of 10 men forget: rings. Massive signet rings, wedding bands with sharp edges, take them off, every single one. Metal is cold and hard. In a world of soft tissues and moisture, it has no place. Leave gold and silver on the nightstand. In bed, your only decoration should be your skill. Imagine you're a surgeon preparing for a complex heart operation, only your goal is not to save a life, but to breathe fire into it. Does a surgeon enter the operating room wearing rings and with a dirty mourning border under his nails? No. Be a professional. Now let us talk about lubrication. Many men perceive the need for lubricant as a personal insult. They think that if they are good enough, a woman should flow like a spring stream at the snap of a fingers. This is a dangerous delusion dictated by a bloated male ego. Dryness can be caused by 1,000 reasons, from the cycle phase and hormones to fatigue and stress at work. It does not mean she doesn't want you. It's just physics. Friction kills pleasure. Friction creates microtraumas. Friction causes burning that blocks any signal of enjoyment. Using quality water-based lubricant is not an admission of defeat. It's an element of higher alchemy. The Swiss psychologist spoke of the symbol of water as a conductor into the world of emotions. Lubricant is your water. It removes boundaries, dissolves obstacles, and allows your fingers to glide as if they are dancing, not hacking through a thicket. Keep the bottle nearby. Warm it in your palms before applying. Never, do you hear me? Never pour cold liquid onto a heated body. This is a shock that ruins the tuning. Apply a drop to your fingers, rub it, feel the glide. Your hands must be ready for contact even before they touch your skin. This shows your foresight. This shows that you are in control of the situation, and women absolutely love when a man fully controls the process, relieving her of responsibility for the technical details. Summarizing the first chapter, remember, preparation is not a boring obligation. It is the prelude to the prelude. It is the moment when you flip the switch in your head from the mode of provider, warrior, and problem solver to the mode of lover. You wash off the dust of the external world. You remove everything sharp and hard. You warm your tools. You create what the ancients called the temenos, a sacred protected space where only the laws of pleasure apply. And only when you are fully ready, when your hands are clean, warm, and smooth, only then can we move to the next stage, to the stage where we will begin to awaken her energy without even touching the most forbidden zones. But about that in the next chapter. For now, ask yourself, are your hands ready right now? Or do they need a transformation? Chapter 2. Prelude as libido accumulation. Most men make a fatal strategic mistake in the very first minutes of intimacy. They act like bad sprinters who want to break the finish tape, barely hearing the starting shot. Their hands, barely touching the female body, immediately rush to the very center, to the cherished goal, ignoring everything else. This is the approach of an amateur. This is the approach of a teenager, controlled by hormones, not reason. The Swiss psychiatrist whose philosophy we have taken as a basis introduced the concept of libido not just as sexual desire, but as a powerful flow of psychic energy. Imagine a river. If you try to direct a turbulent mountain river into a narrow pipe instantly, the pipe will simply burst, or the water will go over the top, causing destruction. Energy must flow smoothly, filling the channel gradually. Your task is not to flip a switch, but to kindle a fire. And a fire starts from the edges, not from the center. Start from afar. Imagine that the female body is a map of an unexplored continent, and the cherished zone is the capital in the center. If you parachute straight into the capital, you will be met by armed guards. But if you enter from the borders, if you advance slowly, capturing territories one by one, the capital will surrender to you itself, without a fight. Start from the periphery. Your first goal is to turn off her head. A woman in the modern world is constantly in a state of mental tension. Work, children, household, plans for tomorrow. Her brain works at high frequencies of the beta rhythm. You need to transfer her to an alpha state, a state of relaxed trance. And the key to this is her neck, shoulders, and back. Use the technique of circles on water. When a stone falls into water, circles diverge from the center to the edges. We will go in the opposite direction, from the edges to the center. Approach from behind or from the side. Start with a massage of the collar zone. The entire burden of responsibility accumulates there. Soft, confident movements of the thumbs, kneading the trapezius muscles, send a signal to the brain. I can exhale. I am safe. The burden has been lifted from me. As soon as her shoulders drop, as soon as her breathing becomes deeper, the first barrier is taken. Go lower. The spine is the highway of the nervous system. Run your knuckles along the spinal column from the neck to the lower back. Do not scratch, but press through, activating the nerve endings. This turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest and pleasure.
Now we move to zones that are on the border of the permissible. The inner surface of the arms, wrists, sides. The skin here is thinner and more sensitive. Use the difference in textures. Sometimes with the whole palm, creating warmth and pressure. Sometimes only with fingertips, causing goosebumps. Alternate the confidence of a conqueror with the tenderness of an artist. Psychologists call this playing on contrasts. The brain does not have time to adapt to one type of touch and is constantly in a state of excited attention. She does not know what she will do in the next second, squeeze her waist or barely touch her ribs. This uncertainty births electricity. And now the most important part. Approaching the epicenter but without contact. Glide your palms along her hips, along the outside. Slowly, sluggishly, as if your hands are in thick honey. Move to the inner surface of the thigh. This is a zone of high erogenous readiness. Your hand goes higher, closer to the perineum, and at the last moment when she is already waiting for the touch, when her hips involuntarily move to meet you, you remove your hand or move it back to the knee. This is called frustration of positive expectation. This is a powerful hook. You promise but do not give. You tease. At this moment, a release of dopamine, the hormone of anticipation, occurs in her blood. Dopamine works stronger than pleasure itself. It makes her want. It turns her passive consent into active thirst. Do this 3-4 times. Bring her to a state where she herself grabs your hand and directs it where she needs it. Now the soil is ready. Now the river has filled the channel. Now you can approach the gates. But even now, when you are at the goal, do not rush to remove underwear. Fabric is an excellent filter. Place a warm palm directly on her loins over the panties. Just put it there and hold. Do not rub, do not press, do not try to grope for anything. Just static. The warmth of your palm penetrates through the fabric, warming her intimate zone. This is a gesture of an owner and a protector at the same time. You claim rights to this territory, but do it without aggression. Feel how the temperature changes under your palm. Feel how she breathes. At this moment, that very non-verbal communication channel is established. You synchronize. And only when you feel that she herself begins to move towards your palm, creating friction, only then can you move to the next stage. The stage where we will meet the guardian of the threshold. Chapter 3. The Outer Circle and the Guardian of the Threshold. We have approached the most delicate and most mythologized part of the female body. In anatomy, it is called the clitoris, but in our psychological map, we will call it the pearl or the control center. And here, most men suffer shipwreck because they treat this organ like a doorbell button. Press harder, hear a sound. This is a fatal mistake that instantly kills magic. The clitoris is not a button. It is the tip of the iceberg. What you see on the outside is only a small part of a huge system going deep into the body, with legs and bulbs that encompass the entrance to the vagina. It's a complex nerve knot in which more than 8,000 nerve endings are concentrated. For comparison, on the head of your instrument, there are half as many. Think about that. What is pleasant for you can be unbearably sharp, almost painful sensation for her if approached with respect.
Imagine you want to touch a bare nerve. Will you rub it with the force of sandpaper? No. You will be extremely careful. Direct impact on the head of the clitoris, especially at the beginning when there is not enough lubrication yet and blood filling has not reached the peak, is a shock. It causes a defensive reaction. She will pull away, shrink, say that she is ticklish or uncomfortable. Many men perceive this as a whim, but in reality, it is the body's cry for help. Therefore, rule number 1, do not touch the pearl directly. Work with what is around it. Work with the hood, the fold of skin that covers the head. Nature created this hood for a reason. It is a natural buffer, softening stimulation. Caress it through this hood, as if you are stroking a precious stone through velvet fabric. Start with exploring the labia, the outer and inner lips. Lubricate your finger with a generous amount of lubricant. Remember, smoothness and glide. Your movements should be light, like a butterfly's wing. Outline the contours. Glide up and down, barely touching the skin. You are like drawing a map, bypassing the center, narrowing the circles, but not entering the epicenter. This is again a game with expectation. Her brain registers the approach to the most sensitive point. Tension grows. Blood rushes even stronger, causing tissues to swell. This swelling is exactly what we need. When tissues fill with blood, the clitoris comes out a little from under the hood. It becomes more accessible, but also more demanding. This is a sign that the guardian of the threshold is waking up. Now about the touch technique. Forget about poking, forget about pinching. Your fingers must be soft but confident. Use the pad of the finger, its softest part. Imagine you are checking the ripeness of a very tender peach. You do not press to leave a dent, you only slightly spring. Try clockwise movements around the pearl, slowly, catastrophically slowly. One revolution should take several seconds. In a world where everyone is used to fast-scrolling news feeds, slowing down is a new kind of luxury. When you slow down, you force her to concentrate on every millimeter of sensation. You tear her out of reality and immerse her in a trance. Watch for feedback. You do not need words. Words often lie or are spoken out of politeness. The body never lies. Look at her toes. If they curl, you are on the right path. Listen to the breathing. If it stops on the inhale and then abruptly bursts out, you hit the spot. Watch the hips. If they begin to seek your hand, adjust to the rhythm. It means you have entered resonance. But if she tenses her hips, trying to move them together, or her hand lays over yours trying to stop or change the movement, this is a red signal. You are either too rough, too fast, or dry.
Do not ignore these signs. Stop. Add lubrication. Reduce pressure. Go back a step to stroking the hips. Show her that you are not a robot executing a program, but a sensitive partner who hears her without words. There is a myth that all women love the same thing. This is a lie. Every woman has her own sensitivity map. Someone loves wide, sweeping movements with 2 fingers, covering the entire zone. Someone prefers pinpoint, jewelry work with the little finger, somewhere in the upper part, at 12 o'clock on a conditional dial. Someone goes crazy from side-to-side movements resembling grinding, and someone is annoyed by this. Your task now is to be an explorer. Try different trajectories, 8s, circles, vertical strokes. But as soon as you find that movement to which her body responds with a deep exhale or moan, freeze. Lock this parameter. Do not change it. You found a gold vein. Now your task is to develop it without losing the rhythm. But about the magic of rhythm and why consistency is more important than variety, we will talk about in the next chapter. For now, remember, you are still outside. You are still a guest standing on the threshold and politely but persistently asking for permission to enter.
At this moment, when external stimulation is brought to perfection, an amazing thing happens. The boundary between I and you begins to blur. She no longer analyzes your actions, she just feels. And it is at this moment, when her attention is fully focused on one point, that we prepare to move to the next level of depth. But before we step inside, into the Holy of Holies, we need to master the art of trance, the art of being unchanging, like a rock against which the ocean crashes. Are you ready to become this rock? Chapter 4. Alchemy of Rhythm and Trance. Here we enter territory where logic suffers defeat and ancient shamanic laws seize power. If you ask a man what good sex is, he will answer variety, positions, change of locations. If you ask a woman's body, it will answer with one word: rhythm. This is a paradox that has destroyed millions of nights. The male mind, oriented towards capturing new territories, quickly begins to get bored doing the same movement. It seems to him that if he rubs in one point for more than a minute, the woman will fall asleep or decide that he has no imagination, and he begins to improvise. He changes speed, he changes the angle, he begins to write out Morse code with his fingers. And at that very moment, when he thinks he is a virtuoso, the woman falls out of the flow of pleasure into cold reality. The psychology of trance is simple. The brain needs predictability to turn off control. Remember how a hypnotist puts a person into a trance. He uses a monotone voice, a pendulum, repetitive phrases. Female pleasure works on the same principle. When you find a point that responds and begin to affect it with a perfectly even metronomic rhythm, her brain stops scanning reality for danger. It understands. In the next second, it will be just as pleasant as in this one, and in a second too. One can stop standing guard on the tower. One can let go of the steering wheel. It is at this moment that what Jung called the dissolution of the ego occurs. She stops thinking about how she looks, whether there is a fold on her stomach, and whether she turned off the iron. She becomes pure sensation. Your hand must become a mechanism, ruthless and beautiful in its stability. Choose a movement. Let's say it's circular movements with the pad of the middle finger around the clitoris. Set the tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do not speed up even if you hear her breathing quicken. This is a trap. Many men, hearing moans, think, aha, she likes it, need to push, need to go faster, and they break into a gallop. This is a rookie mistake. Acceleration ruins the tuning. Imagine you are trying to tune a radio receiver to a distant station. You turn the knob millimeter by millimeter through hiss and interference. And here, finally, a clear sound of music breaks through. What will an idiot do? He will sharply turn the knob further to make it even louder and lose the wave. A master will freeze. A master will remove his hand from the regulator and let the music play. Your task is to keep the rhythm when everything inside you demands action. This is an exercise in male endurance. Do you feel her hips starting to shake? Continue at the same tempo. Is she starting to squeeze the sheet? Do not change the pressure. Does she arch in an arc? Stay in place. Your stability is the support from which she can push off to fly into space. If you start twitching along with her, there will be no support, and you will both fall into the chaos of disorderly movements. Become a rock in the middle of a storm. Waves beat against it, foam flies in all directions, but the rock is motionless. It is this reliability that drives women crazy at a subconscious level. She feels this man controls the situation. He does not give in to panic. He can be trusted completely.
Chapter 5. Penetration into the unconscious. Only now, when she is warmed up, when her breathing has become heavy and the tissues moist and pliable, do we approach the Rubicon, the transition from the outer game to the inner. From the point of view of psychoanalysis, penetration into the body is a return to the origins, to the maternal womb, to warmth and darkness. This is a sacred act, but many men turn it into a medical procedure or mechanical piston movement. Remember, fingers are not a replacement for your instrument. They have different biomechanics and a different task. Trying to imitate friction back and forth with fingers is a waste of time and effort. Fingers are created for exploring relief, for pressing, for beckoning movements that a straight and rigid shaft is simply incapable of. Check the lubrication before entering. There should be a lot of it. The entrance to the vagina is a ring muscle that is always contracted in a calm state. If you try to break through by force, the muscle will respond with a spasm. This is a reflex. Approach the entrance with respect. First, one finger. Only one. Gently outline the entrance. Press slightly on the lower wall, closer to the perineum. Wait. Let the muscle get used to the pressure. Imagine you are knocking on a queen's door. You do not kick the door down, you wait for an invitation. And the invitation looks like a slight relaxation of the ring, as if it is pulling you inside itself. Now, glide. Slowly, immerse yourself in the hot, moist darkness. Inside the female body, a whole universe of textures is hidden. The walls are not smooth, they're velvety, folded. And your goal at this stage is to find the zone that in popular culture is called the G-spot, but anatomically, it is the zone of the front wall, the urethral sponge. How to find it? Imagine a clock face where 12 looks at her belly button. You need exactly there at 12 o'clock, with the pad of the finger up towards the stomach. At a depth of about 2 phalanges, you will feel a change in texture. If the rest of the vagina is smooth and soft, this zone often feels like a ribbed surface, similar to the palate in your mouth, or like a small bump that becomes harder with arousal. This is that very button that switches consciousness. But do not press on it like a doorbell. Use the movement I call the gesture of the call. Imagine you are beckoning someone to you with your finger. Come here, come to me. You bend your finger, pressing with the pad on the front wall and slightly pulling it towards the exit. This movement is radically different from friction. Friction stretches, while the movement come here massages and stimulates deep nerve bundles. Start with little pressure. Watch the reaction. If you hit correctly, you will hear a characteristic guttural sound, a moan coming from the very depth of the chest. This is the sound of animal pleasure, the sound of the Freudian id waking up. Here, it is important to understand the difference between pain and pleasure. This zone is very sensitive. Too much pressure can cause an urge to urinate. Both women and men are scared of this. The woman clamps up, thinking that an embarrassment is about to happen. Your task is to calm her. Tell her quietly but confidently, relax, everything is fine. I am with you. Let yourself go.
This urge is often a false signal, a precursor to a powerful squirting orgasm. But now it is important to not get scared. Continue the movement. Come here. Rhythmically, persistently, gently. You are like stroking a cat that arches its back to meet your hand.
If one finger is not enough, if you feel that it has become very spacious and moist inside, this is a signal for expansion. Add a second finger. Now your index and middle fingers work in a pair. This doubles the contact area. This gives a feeling of fullness that female nature craves so much. But the technique remains the same. The palm looks up, the fingers make beckoning movements towards the front wall. You do not pound deep. You work with the first third of the channel. It is here, at the entrance, that the majority of nerve endings are concentrated. Depth is a myth of the porn industry. Sensitivity is the reality of anatomy. And now, the most difficult task arises before you, requiring coordination of the level of a virtuoso pianist. You need to combine these two worlds, the world of external clitoral stimulation, where fine motor skills and tenderness reign, and the world of internal stimulation, where confident, strong pressure and rhythm are needed. Doing this with one hand is impossible. You will need both, and here begins true alchemy, where the male brain often explodes from overload trying to control different movements of different hands simultaneously. But if you master this skill, you will become a god in her eyes. We will talk about this great fusion of two hemispheres in the next chapter. Chapter 6: Dialogue of Two Hemispheres and Alchemy of Hands. We have reached the point where boys are filtered out and men begin their path to mastery. This is the bifurcation point. Up to this moment, you could manage with one hand, relying on luck or natural instinct. But in order to launch a chain reaction of true, deep pleasure, one point of stimulation is often not enough. Female nature craves wholeness. She needs a feeling of fullness inside and filigree caress outside simultaneously. This is called mixed stimulation. And here, most men face the physiological barrier of their own brain. Try right now to stroke your stomach with one hand in circular movements and with the other rhythmically tap on the top of your head. Difficult? Do you get confused? Now imagine that whether a woman flies to the seventh heaven or falls into disappointment depends on the accuracy of these movements. This is the higher mathematics of sex. The psychological problem here lies in the division of attention. The male brain is single-tasking. When you focus on the movements of fingers inside, G-zone, your second hand outside on the clitoris often freezes or starts twitching chaotically. Or vice versa, you get carried away playing with the pearl and the hand inside simply stops, turning into a foreign object. For a woman, this feels like an interruption of the signal, as if you were listening to a magnificent symphony and suddenly the violin part disappears and then a drum enters out of beat. This is annoying. This knocks her out of the trance. To become a master, you must turn into a conductor who manages two different groups of instruments, creating a single harmony. Let's break down the technique that will allow you to bypass the limitations of your brain. The secret is in the division of roles. Your dominant hand, usually the right, takes on the most difficult task, internal stimulation. This is your power unit. It sets the rhythm. It works with gross motor skills. Movement come to me, rhythmic presses on the front wall. This is your metronome. The second hand, left, is your violin. It works outside, and its task is not to copy the rhythm of the right hand, but to complement it. If the right hand makes confident thrusts, 1, 2, 3, then the left hand can simply lie on the clitoris, creating a light, almost imperceptible vibration or slow circles. Do not try to do complex pirouettes with both hands. Let one be the anchor and the second the engine.
Body position plays a decisive role here. If you are lying uncomfortably, if your back is numb and your arm is twisted at an unnatural angle, you will not last even 2 minutes. You will start fidgeting, ruining her entire mood. Sit comfortably. Perhaps you should position yourself on the side or between her legs, but so that your shoulders are relaxed. Use her thigh as a support for your wrist. This is a trick of professionals. When you place the base of the palm or wrist on her pubis or thigh, you get a leverage point. This removes tension from the muscles of your arm and allows fingers to move freely and tirelessly. In addition, the contact of your palm with her pubis gives an additional feeling of warmth and grounding. She feels your heaviness, and this calms her instincts. There is another option, which I call the cobra grip. This is for cases when you want to use one hand for double action. You insert the middle and ring fingers inside, working on the G-spot, and the thumb of the same hand lies on the clitoris from above. This requires a certain anatomical compatibility and finger flexibility, but if it works, the effect is stunning. You create pliers of pleasure. One movement of the hand stimulates both inside and outside. Synchronization happens automatically because one limb is working. Women often describe the sensation from this technique as being captured, from which there is no way out and no desire to find one. This gives a total feeling of fullness. But remember the psychology of perception. When 2 points of stimulation work, the woman's sensory system overloads. Signals come in an avalanche. The brain stops coping with information processing and simply shuts down. This is exactly what we need. Shutdown of the cerebral cortex, stopping the internal dialogue. At this moment, she may start behaving strangely, laughing, crying, saying incoherent things, or growling. Do not be scared. This is the exit of the shadow. This is the exit of suppressed emotions. You are now not just a lover, you are an exorcist who expels stress and control from her through pleasure. Continue the work. Keep the rhythm. You are approaching the climax. Chapter 7. On the Edge of Ego and Madness. We are approaching the edge of the abyss. Orgasm is a little death. The French call it la petite mort, not for a nice turn of phrase. At the moment of orgasm, our self, our ego, our personality disintegrates into atoms for a fraction of a second. We lose control over the body, over the voice, over the mind. And for many women, especially for those used to controlling everything in life, this moment is scary. Unconsciously, they fear this loss of control. They approach the very edge, feel the ground leaving from under their feet, and get scared. They hit the brakes, they freeze, they break the rhythm, and the orgasm slips away, leaving behind only irritation and fatigue. Your role at this critical moment is to be the safety, to be the rope that will hold her when she jumps into the abyss. How to do this technically? The first rule of the Masters Club: when you see signs of an approaching peak, do not change anything. Write this on your subcortex. At the moment when she begins to breathe often, when her muscles begin to involuntarily contract around your fingers, when she arches in an arc, your instinct will scream faster, harder, finish her. Strangle this instinct. If you speed up even for a fraction of a second, you will knock her off her wave. If you press harder, you will turn pleasure into pain. She does not need more, she needs stable.
Imagine you were keeping a fragile balance on a tightrope. You were walking steadily. You were almost at the goal. If you suddenly run, you will fall. The lighthouse technique. Choose the rhythm and pressure that brought her to this state and freeze them. Become a robot. Let your fingers move with the precision of a Swiss watch. She may scream, "Yes, faster," but often this is not a request to speed up, but a request to increase the intensity of sensations, which is achieved not by speed, but by depth and stability. Look at her body. If she begins to move away, follow her without breaking contact. If she impales herself on your hand, hold the hand rigidly, allowing her to regulate the depth herself. Work with breathing. This is the control panel of her nervous system. If she holds her breath, and this is a frequent mistake reaction to the stress of pleasure, tell her quietly but authoritatively, breathe. Command softly but powerfully, exhale. Sound helps release tension. Breathe loudly and deeply yourself. Your breathing sets the rhythm for her breathing. This is called respiratory resonance. When you breathe together, you create a single energy circuit. This helps her overcome fear. She hears your breathing and understands, he is here, he is alive, he is holding me. I can let myself go.
Sometimes before the very peak, the body begins to convulse. Legs can shake so that the bed shakes. This is a good sign. This is a discharge of tension. Do not try to calm her or stop. Just continue doing your job. Your hand is the only constant in her collapsing world. At this moment, she may painfully squeeze your wrist, dig her nails into your shoulder. Endure. This is not aggression. This is passion. This is energy seeking an exit. If you stop now, she will fall from a height and crash. You must lead her through this storm to the very end until the last wave of convulsions subsides. There's a special phenomenon that textbooks are silent about, the phenomenon of the false finish. It often happens like this. A powerful spasm occurs. She screams, then goes limp. The man thinks that's it, victory, removes his hand and goes for a towel, and a second later sees her disappointed look. Why? Because it was only the first wave. Following it could be a second, a third, more powerful one, but you interrupted the process. Rule of the master. After it seemed to you that everything ended, continue movements for at least another 30 seconds. Reduce the intensity, make movements smoother, but do not stop abruptly. Let her push your hand away herself or say, "That's it." Only then can you be sure that you squeezed this lemon to the last drop. And now, when the storm has subsided, when her body lies relaxed and defenseless, the most important time comes, the time of the phantom. Most men at this moment commit a crime against the relationship. They emotionally leave. They turn their backs. They take the phone. They fall asleep. And thereby they cross out everything they created in the last hour. They destroy the magic. But you and I will go another way. We will enter the zone of absolute resonance, and I will tell you how to make these 5 minutes after sex bind her to you stronger than years of marriage. But about that in the final chapter.
Chapter 8. The Phenomenon of Absolute Resonance. Here we are at that very secret I spoke about at the very beginning. To the phantom, to the moment of truth. You have traveled the path from cleansing hands to managing an orgasmic storm. The storm has subsided. The woman lies nearby. Her breathing evens out. Her skin gradually cools. And at this moment, 99% of men commit betrayal. They consider the work done. They remove their hands. They turn to the wall. They reach for the phone to check messages. At this moment, with their own hands, they destroy everything they built for the last hour. They break the connection. The woman who was just open to you to the very bottom suddenly feels the cold of loneliness. Her unconscious reads this as usage. He got his, or gave me release, and now he doesn't need me. The door slams shut. Magic disappears. The phenomenon of absolute resonance is a state of psychic diffusion that occurs in the first 5 to 10 minutes after the peak. At this moment, the level of oxytocin, the hormone of attachment and trust, goes off the scale in her blood. Her ego, her protective barriers, her social masks all lie in ruins. She is absolutely defenseless and absolutely receptive. It is in these minutes and not during friction that a true, deep dependence on a man is formed. If you stay with her in this space, if you conduct this exit ritual correctly, you will become for her not just a lover, but a part of herself. You will become an imprint in her psyche. What needs to be done? First, do not break tactile contact. Even if you are tired, even if your arm is numb, move the hand, but do not remove it. Place your palm on her stomach, on the solar plexus, or just hug her so that she feels your weight. The weight of a man is a powerful grounding anchor. After a flight into space, she needs to return to Earth, and your heavy, warm body is the best landing strip. Just lie there. Be silent. Let biochemistry do its job. In these minutes, your auras, if speaking the language of mystics, or your electromagnetic fields, if speaking the language of physics, synchronize. You breathe the same air. You become a single organism. Second is the right words, but not immediately. Let the silence brew. And when you feel that she is ready to speak, ask one single question. But not a stupid question like, "How was it?" or "Was I good?" which feeds your vanity. Ask a researcher's question. What did you like best? This question forces her brain to rewind the tape, recall the best moments of pleasure, and verbalize them. When she puts sensations into words, she cements them in memory. She convinces herself that it was magnificent. And this answer is your treasure map for the next time. Remember what she says. Write it down in your mental notebook. This is the key to her code. Third is care for the body. Offer her water. It is banal, but it works flawlessly. During sex, we lose moisture. Breathing dries out. A glass of water served by a man without a request is a gesture of higher care. It is a signal your state is important to me, not just your body. If she needs to go to the bathroom, offer a towel or a robe. These little things scream that you are reliable. A woman falls in love not with a penis. A woman falls in love with the attitude towards her. And it is in the resonance phase that this attitude is read as sharply as possible. If you pass this stage with dignity, she will forgive you any technical flaws that might have happened in the process. But if you fail the finale, even perfect technique will not save you from the cold in her eyes the next morning.
We have analyzed the great work with you. We saw that intimacy is not the mechanics of reciprocating movements. It is a complex symphony where hygiene, psychology, rhythm, empathy, and patience play a role. You learned about temenos, the sacred space of safety. You learned to bypass the guardian of the threshold through caressing the periphery. You understood how to use rhythm to induce a trance and how to hold her on the edge of the abyss without letting her fall prematurely. And finally, you learned the secret of resonance, which binds souls stronger than chains. This path is not simple. It requires a man to renounce selfishness, renounce haste and laziness, but the reward for this labor is colossal. You get a woman who reveals herself to you completely, without residue, a woman who trusts you with her darkest and sweetest fantasies. You stop being a petitioner at the bedroom doors. You become the master of the situation, a master who is waited for, who is wanted, who is valued. This is true male power, power based not on the force of coercion, but on the power of giving pleasure. But remember that the spirit relies on the body. To be a master, to have energy for a long prelude, for maintaining rhythm, and for a powerful finale, your own organism must work like a Swiss watch. Jung was a doctor and knew that the psychic energy of libido directly depends on physical health. If your testosterone level is at 0, if vessels are clogged and the prostate is inflamed, no psychology will help you. You simply will not pull this marathon physically. Therefore, a wise man takes care of his fuel in advance. There are natural elements, alchemical substances, if you will, that support the male fire. This is not chemistry, this is a concentrate of nature's power. Organic extracts for blood circulation so that your instrument is hard as your will. Complexes to support testosterone so that your desire is bright and endurance infinite. I left a list of these proven elements in the pinned comment under this video. This is not an advertisement for magic pills. These are tools for those who want their body to match the scale of their spirit. Study them. Your body is your temple. Do not let it crumble. And now the choice is yours. You can close this video and return to old habits, to quick sex, to understatement, to routine. Or you can start applying this knowledge tonight. Look at your hands. Are they ready? Look at your woman. She is waiting. Do not disappoint her. And if this analysis turns something over in your head, if you felt that very prick of truth, subscribe to the channel. We do not play games here. We disassemble life into atoms. Click on the bell so as not to miss the next session of immersion into the abyss of male psychology. And remember, masters are not born. Masters are made when they decide that being an amateur is too shallow for them. See you on the other side of pleasure.